Well, difficult for me to be too critical of the performance. We had more possession, more shots on target. I think for large parts of the game we played very well.
Win the World Cup, they reckon. Win the World Cup. What a laughable suggestion. Right now, I would give my left arm for England to simply score a goal.
It's 1-0 to Italy, and to be honest with you, even though I'm English, I couldn't actually give a shit.
So we are in a run of bad results, but it's for us to put that right, and the only way to do that is to stick with what we believe, stick with what's got us success in the previous tournaments, stick with what's got us success in the previous tournaments, stick with what we believe.
Boring.
Right, hello there everyone, welcome back to James Redmond TV and welcome to another Redmond Roundup. And whew, what a video. Gareth Southgate is now under pressure by top Brits and we have to discuss it. We have to make sure that we delve into this and have a good laugh along the way. Anyway people, make sure you get your bums in your seats, smash a like if you haven't already, and let's get into today's Redmond Roundup, you know that. Anyway, so multiple games without a win. No goals in open play in over 500 minutes for the England national team. Also, Gareth Southgate now has a 100% relegation record for club and country as a manager. And when you're getting quotes like this, I'm not being funny or not, and I feel like I could now watch a 12-hour video of Ty from AFTV and gain some really solid education, more so than when I'm watching a Gareth Southgate press conference. I mean, I can understand any manager trying to find positives because I think it's wrong to ignore them, but trying to find positives out of yesterday's performance is mad. And some would even say that the only positive that could have possibly came out of yesterday's game was your resignation. I mean, come on, let's be honest. Maguire is to Southgate what Ronaldo is to ISO speed. I don't know what nudes Harry Maguire may or may not have speculative over Gareth Southgate, but there's something there to why 3 or 4 different managers have kept starting this very same centre-back. I'm actually not even here to, crap on Gareth. Well, I am kind of here to crap on Gareth Southgate. Not as a person, I'm sure he might be sound, but I just think he's been very overrated as a manager since he came to England. I think he's probably stopped a lot of potential successes along the way, and I've had a lot of people disagreeing with me over time about certain points that I've made and if Southgate is good enough. I feel like a lot of top Brits, as people would like to say, even they're now getting on Gareth Southgate's back. That's all he had before, and now even they're off the bus. But I just think it's important to break down specifically the achievements and also the bad things that he's done as England manager and weigh it up. So let's dive into a little bit of context. What does a manager need to be a good international manager? You have to be tactically efficient. So when I say tactically efficient, it's not about playing the style of football that us as the fans or whoever you support wants to see, because that might not be the one that gets the results and therefore the efficiency. I don't care if you play 10 men behind the ball, but if you win every game 1-0, you're doing the job and doing enough to go ahead and win tournaments. It takes the right atmosphere, not just the good one. You need the correct atmosphere and harmony between the players, and not just one that where everyone's going to be jumping around and smiling. Good decision making. You have to be efficiently decisive as a football manager, especially when you only see these players every couple of weeks, months. You've really got to know what you're doing from that side of things. And then lastly, the one thing that you need to do is show good progression over the time that you're there. And Gareth Southgate has now been here for 5 years, which makes me be able to do this video, as we now have enough of a case study to be able to judge his time, the successes and the bad things. So let's have a look at the question, really. Was his achievements overrated? I feel like that's one big debate within the England fan base, or people who talk about England or show any interest in England. And I show interest because a lot of these players are players that I see week in, week out in the Premier League. And I know the good players, and I know Gareth Southgate, regardless what you think of him as a manager, should be able to achieve something decent with these players. Now, what is that something decent? A lot of England fans will bring to the table the argument of a semi-final in the World Cup of 2018, which on paper does not sound bad at all. Don't mind if I diddly do. If I achieved that as a manager, I'd feel like that's a pretty good achievement, and you'd be seeing that on the back of the wall. But also, we got to a final of the Euros, which again, not too shabby, Alonso. But on paper and context are two very different things, and it's also two beautifully different things. So I've got it here. So the World Cup semi-final, we're going to break down those two games very, very quickly. So the World Cup semi-final against Croatia, where it was 2-1 to Croatia. Trippier scored our only goal. A lot of people were saying that it was a free ticket to the final. Croatia, they've got Modric, but it's only Modric. They've got Dejan Lovren at the back. Who's Dejan Lovren? Anyway, Croatia went on to not only win that game, but probably smash us. They had 22 shots on target to England's 11. They had 7 shots on target to England's 2. And they had 56% possession to England's 44. So at the beginning of the video, you saw the little compilation of Gareth Southgate taking pointers out of having more possession, more shots and stuff like that. Clearly not efficient though, was it, Southgate? And on top of the efficiency, in the biggest games, one of them being the semi-final against Croatia, you did not perform. You still got to a semi-final of a World Cup. And when you look at the lineups of Croatia and England, listen, in hindsight, Croatia actually have a really good team. They have Fishalko, that right-back fella who I can't pronounce the name of, Dejan Lovren, who's clearly better than Harry Maguire, Brozovic, who is a great midfielder for Inter, Luka Modric, Rakitic, Perisic, Rebic, Mandzukic. Just mad the way that it all ends in it, you know. And then England was starting players like Jordan Pickford, Harry Maguire, Dele Alli. Oh, that's a meaty centre midfield of Ashley Young and Jesse Lingard. Even with the squad back then, let's have a look at the bench. Oh, come on. You had Jamie Vardy on the bench as a striker and you're going with Sterling at striker and you're going with Dele Alli on the left and you're not going with him in midfield and you're going with Ashley Young in midfield. Gareth Southgate's decision-making in this game was proven to be not good enough. So even though that's a good Croatia team, I still think England had enough to be able to go ahead and put a better performance than what they did in that game. Anyway, the Italy game, 1-1, which finished 3-2 on penalties. Got to give it to Italy, 37-game unbeaten streak. The Brazils, the great Spains, the great Germanys, none of those teams, the best international teams of all times, didn't go on as long of a run. They literally hold the record for an international team. So this was, on paper, a very, very tough game, and Italy was the epitome of difficult to beat. So it weren't a must-win or an absolute win, but that's why context and hindsight can be a beautiful thing, because I don't think Italy came out that game firing on all cylinders, and even though their squad did improve, I think England's squad improved massively as well. I'm just looking at the 11 right now. I'm looking at Bonucci and Chiellini in their lineup. One thing that tells me is old age, and one thing that old age tells me is that they're not the quickest. So when you are not the quickest and you have the Sakas, the Sterlings, the Sanchos, the Rashfords, did I say Sterling? I probably did say Sterling, but even a good attacking fullbacks with energy like Reece James, Trent, you know, tricky players. And when I look at the lineup, you're going with Mount up top, Harry Kane up top, and Raheem Sterling. Understand Raheem Sterling, but Mason Mount was in good form at the time as well. But was he what we needed for that game? Bukayo Saka's just been given the England Player of the Year, and he's not starting in that team for the Euros. If he's the best player for England, which I disagree with as well, in the past 12 months, then why isn't he starting in the biggest game of recent time for England Football Club? You can't just say because he's young. There's a reason why people rate him so highly. You've got to go ahead. Cream will always rise to the top regardless of age. And that lineup again, look at the back three, it's the same. We went with the same back three in this game against Italy than what we did against Croatia. Harry Maguire is the common theme. He's still playing in this game. And even after these two case studies of the two biggest games in Southgate's history, which he lost with Harry Maguire at the back, Harry Maguire's not the main reason, but when he comes back into the 11 against friggin' Italy last night and puts in a very similar stinky performance, you can't be too surprised when you start getting fans on your back. And in the Italy game, they had 19 shots and 66% possession to England's 6 shots and 34% possession. So again, that argument that he made at the start of the video is ruled out because you got dominated in both of your biggest games in your international career. And the common theme for these games is that both the fullbacks scored. We didn't utilise Italy's weaknesses. So not only are these achievements overrated, but they're actually not really something that you can even class as achievements. And going forward, there's no signs of improvement. Since the Euro final, we've lost many, many games. We haven't won in 5 games. We haven't scored an open play in over 500 minutes. And again, the common theme in the 2 biggest games of his career was that fullback scored. So the fact that someone like Harry Kane or Marcus Rashford, who hasn't been chosen, isn't getting the goals, that is more than concerning. And all the things that I mentioned earlier on, what it takes to be a really, really good manager, already from what I've talked about, it shows that Southgate lacks progression And he's also lacking the tactical intelligence side of the game because he's not able to adapt as time goes by. He doesn't learn from his mistake. And everyone's talking about this amazing atmosphere in the dressing room. And listen, I'm sure Gareth Southgate is really brilliant at making the players feel good about themselves and kissing their ass and licking them up the bum and, you know, just saying the really right things that everyone wants to hear. Just like a desperate man when he does never get girls, but he finally finds the one who shows him a pequito bit of interest. So therefore, he's going to put all of his eggs in that basket and give it all the compliments that he possibly can because he doesn't want to upset the basket. He wants to keep the harmony. He wants to keep the unity because it's the main thing that's keeping him in the job. But what this atmosphere doesn't create, because everyone compares this England team to the old England team and they say, oh, this England team's more together. I understand that the old England team didn't have the right atmosphere either, but this England team has probably gone too far the other way. That team was too disconnected, and there's never a thing called, you know, two together. But sometimes when you like people too much, like the way these players like each other too much, sometimes, you know, people do it with their friends. Oh, do I look nice today? Yeah, you look nice. You look fuck ugly. No, you look like a scruff. Shut up. But you're going to lie because you want to be a sound friend and you don't want to sit there and make them upset and say that they're looking ugly. In this case, you've probably got a bunch of complacent players who believe that they're boss because they're doing boss for their teams at club level, but not translating those performances or that effort over to an England shirt, and that only stems from the atmosphere that is being created by the manager. So yes, even though the team of old with the Ferdinands, the Gerrards and all these players was a bit too disconnected, you could maybe say this team that we've got right now is a bit too friendly, and England still haven't solved the case of finding a manager who can create a team with balance. And the last thing I said it takes to be a top manager is decision making. And all I'm going to say is that these are a list of centre-backs that could have been chosen above Harry Maguire, which in itself demonstrates Southgate's decision making. So if anyone thinks that he should still be in, fair enough, but I even think now all the people who was Southgate in are starting to slowly see the trend. I said the style of football that was winning us those football matches and getting us all the way to a World Cup semi-final against Croatia was not sustainable, and it wasn't going to create long-term success. And 5 years later, or however many years later from that World Cup, we've lost the final in the Euros against the, in hindsight, very beatable Italy team. And then also we got battered by them again last night. We've got Germany, which is our last game leading into the World Cup. And then we've got the World Cup. Like, at this rate with these performances, we're not even going to beat the US of A. And we're going to have Christian Pulisic saying it's called soccer, lifting up his T-shirt. So in conclusion, if the FA decide to persist with the only man in football and history to be relegated as a player, to be relegated as a club manager, and to be relegated on an international level, then I am sorry for those who continue to support the cause and believe in any it's coming home. It's all a facade. It's all fugazi. It's all in your brain cells. And the sooner you realise that, the sooner that you'll just go, do you know what, James? You're a Scouser, and I don't like Scout. This is for the top Brits, and I don't like Scousers, but you know what? If I listened to you, I would have been very, very happy, and you should have listened to me, because there's some top Brits that I don't like. There's some top Brits that I don't mind. But for those who are knobheads, in your face, you deserve this. But let me know what you think in the comments down below. Anyway, people, thank you for watching. Please leave a like. It really always helps out, and it keeps me posting these videos and these Redmond Roundups. I'm going to be doing another Redmond Roundup later on the channel, so please do go and watch that as well. But I'm being really rusty. Been up since about 6, mate. If I was rusty on this video, I do apologise. But thank you for tuning in regardless, and I will see you all in a bizzle. Peace.